Now that we have knotted our thread, we are ready to begin our first hand sewing stitch. And that is going to be the running stitch. Much like the running man, which you guys probably don't know anything about. It is pretty easy to do and very common. It's not your strongest stitch, but it does work to bind two pieces of fabric together. And basically you're going to start on the wrong side of the fabric. This is the wrong side because you can see the fold. The right side is where you can't see any of the goings on of what's keeping the fabric together. Usually on printed fabrics, it's more vibrant on the right side and it's duller on the back side or the wrong side. So always starting on your wrong side so you can hide the knots. You're going to start your stitch in the middle of your fold. Remember, you've pressed your muslin at this point, so you've got a nice crisp edge here. And you're just putting your needle right there. Let me bring that closer to the camera. And you're pulling it through. Do you see how I'm holding my fingers right below the needle? That way my thread doesn't come off the needle as I pull the thread through. And pull, 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 pull. Oh, I'm moving the camera, sorry guys. Pull, 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 pull. I'm going to go ahead and move this stray piece of muslin thread out of the way so you guys can really see. And now you see my ugly knot has caught. Now I'm going to go maybe, well, if I can keep a hold of it. Going to choose a spot, maybe 7 or 8 threads, thread count places out from my knot. And that's where I'm going to insert my needle back to the wrong side of the fabric and pull, keeping my fingers just like so when I'm pulling on that thread. So now on the wrong side it looks like this. On the right side, just a tiny little stitch. Got it? Alright, now we're going to continue sewing along this line and try to make your stitches as even as possible. So the same length between your knot and your first stitch, you're going to do that again. Let me see if this will focus. Here we go. And you're going to pull and pull and pull and pull. And your second stitch. If you want to hurry this along, once you feel like you've gotten the hang of doing one stitch at a time, what you can do, let me go ahead and bring this back out again. Remember, you want your stitch about the same distance as your first stitch. So here we go. On the back side. Oh, and those are completely uneven. And one's longer than the other. So Miss Moore needs to do a better job at her running stitch. Once you feel like you've gotten the hang of it though, what you're going to find is a shortcut. It may even help keep your stitches even. So let's try this. You're going to bring in your stitch. Take your needle back out again, same amount of length. And for the running stitch, you want your thread to stay relatively close together, your stitches very close together because it is a permanent stitch. And the more thread you have showing or exposed, the more likely it is that it will catch on something and break and then become a mess. It'll become undone, and then you'll have a seam that it's no longer a seam, maybe some busted pants, I don't know. So can you see what I'm doing here? It's kind of like putting meat on a skewer. You're feeding it through, grabbing that thread again, and pulling. And see? Making sure to flatten out your piece. These stitches are too big for my liking, but they're a little bit more straight than they were before. Looking at the right side. What you really want to do is keep those stitches as even as possible. You may feel more comfortable working from right to left versus from left to right. I think I do, so I'm going to flip my fabric around and start on this side. And this time I'm just going to go 2 stitches. See if I can make it more even and smaller. Yeah! Here we go. It's looking a little bit better. Feel free to fast forward through this part if you think you've got the hang of it. You're just running that stitch. Whoops. Sorry, I didn't mean to knock the camera there. Keeping that straight line. And those tiny little stitches. See how it's looking on the other side. It's okay. As you can see, it's not as uniform as you would want it if you were taking your time. But it is good practice. Okay, I'm going to run this all the way to the end. And that way you all can see what's going on and what you do at the end and how to tie off your thread. Tying off your thread is ending the stitch. And we're going to get to that point real quick now because I'm going to stop talking and just start sewing. Notice that I only have 1 thread that is inside the fabric, yet here are my 2 threads here. You might not be able to see that. 2 threads. You don't want to sew with 2 threads inside your fabric for any stitch unless it's a button or a snap. So just make sure that you have pulled the loose thread out of your fabric every time that you sew or make another stitch. That one was a bit uneven. into this.